and welcome to the LRM Podcast, sponsored by Adrien Flux Insurance. I'm Martin Domoney, and today I'm here with Chris Turner from 4x4 Tyres. How are you getting on, Chris?
Very well, thank you very much.
We thought we'd take this opportunity because the issue of Land Rover Monthly that's on sale at the moment has a massive wheel and tyre guide in it, and you're somewhat of a guru on the wheel side of things. So I thought, who better to talk to than the expert from 4x4 Tyres about all things wheels on Land Rovers. So we've got a few little things that hopefully you're going to be able to elaborate for listeners who perhaps aren't completely au fait, or maybe they've looked at upgrading the wheels on their Land Rover or changing them, but they want a little bit more information about exactly what to look for. So first of all, I mean, 4x4 Tyres is pretty synonymous with, chances are if you're into Land Rovers, you've heard of 4x4 Tyres.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about how it came about.
So we started many years ago. I think it was 2012, 2013. We started the name 4x4 Tyres up. That we've been dealing with predominantly Land Rover wheels and tyres for many years. So we had a good sort of knowledge of what people wanted and what people were wanting to put on their vehicles as an aftermarket product most of the time. And from there, we just grew the tyre business, the wheel business. We do alloys and steel wheels, and lots of, in lots of different guises, for every single type of customer, really. And we continue to sort of evolve and bring new products in. And that's where we are. We obviously moving forward as much as we can, and as Land Rovers get older, we bring out new products, and it's something that's at the forefront of our minds all the time.
Good stuff. I mean, it's something that's sort of industry wide, really. All part suppliers, upgrades, things like that for Land Rovers is there's always innovation, even for legacy, to coin a phrase, models. So yes. The older stuff hasn't gone by the wayside. It continues to be developed. The new stuff continues to be developed, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And we all know that wheels make such a huge difference to the overall look of any vehicle, but especially Land Rovers. So it's really important that A, people are going to someone who knows what they're on about, and B, that they're kind of informed a little bit when they're making those choices, because you do sometimes look at certain, examples and you think, yeah, maybe a little bit more of advice should have been shared on the fitment or the style. There's so much that goes into it. Generally speaking, then let's start with original shape Defender.
Yeah.
Where did you when you set up 4x4 Tyres? What was like the in thing?
It's always been the modular steel for many years. We a lot of people like the slight width. That the zero offset modular steel. I mean, we come on to offset later, of course, but that obviously pushes the wheel to the edge of the wheel arch, which a lot of people back in the day wanted. It was more the done thing to widen the track, to give you more stability. So the modular steel has been a real popular wheel for us, and continues to be a really popular wheel today. And it's sort of worked in reverse now, where most people are actually buying vehicles or using their vehicles they have, and they want to go back to the previous look. So we're finding more nowadays that the heritage feel is really good for people, and it looks great, and I'm a big fan of that anyway. So that's something which we're doing a lot more for at the moment.
I was going to say I'm an advocate personally for the white 8-spoke. A lot of people hate them.
Yeah.
I think on the right vehicle, I've got them on my Series 3, and I'm
awesome.
It just looks right.
Yeah.
Because when you combine it with other things that are maybe kind of period correct, it brings the whole thing together, and it just looks like you've plucked it from one decade and brought it forward into now. The modular, kind of on the same vein, I suppose. It was a really in thing for many years, and to hear that people are going back to it is fantastic.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and we still do the 8-spoke or the Weller style, what many will call it. We still do that today. People still ask for it. It's still a design that is current in our catalogue. So yes, long may it continue.
Absolutely. Our Australian correspondent Jack Dobson will be very pleased to hear that, because he's actually got chrome 8 spokes on his Series 2.
I have toyed with thinking about bringing the chrome, but the chrome color is more really for your sort of American vehicles and your Jeeps. But
Yeah,
you never know.
I mean, he sort of, it was a bit of he put it on Instagram a while ago. It was a bit of a daring choice, and people were very, polarized on whether it was the right thing to do. But he's got a black soft top, short wheelbase Series 2A, and it does look really, really cool with these chrome 8 spokes.
Yeah,
But maybe not a huge seller in the UK, but like you say, just fantastic to hear the old styles are still about, really.
most definitely.
So sizes then, obviously Land Rovers in general, let's talk Defender series, all came out with 16-inch wheels.
Yes.
There was a huge craze there still is a huge craze, I suppose, fitting larger sizes, large diameters of wheels to those models.
Yeah.
Mostly, I guess, for looks, but is there any advantage to fitting a larger diameter than standard wheel to a Land Rover, or is it purely for looks?
I think more for road driving. I've had many people come to us who've fitted 18-inch wheels on their Defenders, and they've said that the vehicle drives well. But let's face it, these are people who can probably fall into the Chelsea tractor sort of remit. Now, the vehicles then do drive slightly better on the roads, in my opinion, and from what people tell me. Going for a 16-inch wheel or a smaller wheel gives you more sidewall flex, better for off-roading. So we kind of we stick to that sort of size for people to go for, for your more aggressive tires. And it shows, in the more aggressive tires that we do, they all tend to come out in just 16s. So the bigger sizes, they're not, there's not so many, if you're with me, in the more aggressive tires. So most definitely, I would say 16 inches is the better wheel to run if you're going off-roading and using it for what it's supposed to do, in my opinion.
I was going to say it's reassuring again to see so many tyre brands, and we're going to get onto tyres in a separate podcast in a bit more depth, but so many of the big names still making the traditional Land Rover sizes of 235, 85 and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Because it shows they're acknowledging that, there's an appetite out there still for them. They're a factory fitment size. And yeah, okay. So as far as weight goes then, this is something personally I've always wondered. If you go to a bigger alloy with a lower profile sidewall, is there any difference really in weight between wheels?
There is. So alloy wheels are lighter, okay? Steel wheels are heavier. Now, steel wheels they're more durable. They've both got pros and cons, obviously. Steel wheels are more durable. They sort of they're good at withstanding sort of wintry conditions as well. And because they're more durable, it just makes them better for off-roading. Whereas alloys, yes, they are sort of more aesthetically pleasing to look at, but they're more susceptible, to rusting, if you're with me, with paint, if you're with me when the paint gets in, and cracking as well is another issue with alloys. You'll find it very, very hard to crack a steel wheel. But if you do bend one, say for example, I've seen that. I've never actually had anyone come to us say they've cracked one. But if you do bend one, you can always hit the wheel back into shape with a hammer, which I've heard many people do. And it's still just as strong as it was before the impact, if you're with me. So they've both got pros and cons. It all depends on what you're using it for. So, if somebody rang us and said to us, we literally want to do a lot of off-roading and just a little bit of driving to and from, so we're not too worried about road use, it's steel wheels all day long. Okay.
Right.
If you want the vehicle to look great and you're not too bothered about going off-road, you might be doing a little bit of green laning or something, then, by all means go for alloys, because they do look nice, and there's certain wheels out there which do, in my opinion, make the vehicle look fantastic. Even in the bigger sizes, even though I am a fan, I prefer a smaller wheel, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, I think we're in the same boat on that.
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention the sort of, without getting too scientific, the metallurgy of steel versus aluminium, alloy, sorry. like you say, I've seen people on trips, even just off-road sites, hammering steel wheels back into shape where they've run the tyre pressure too low and they've come down on something hard and it's bent the rim up a little bit. Speaking from personal experience, I've had an alloy wheel on a Discovery 3. In fact, the old LRO Discovery 3. I was in the outside lane. Here's story time with Martin just for a minute.
Okay.
I was in the outside lane of the A1, and you know those gantry signs that say, warning, obstruction ahead?
Yeah.
And you very rarely actually see anything on the road.
Yes.
Being a bit belligerent, as I was on that day, I thought, oh, it's fine. I'll just stay in the outside lane. And I couldn't see too far ahead of me. There was a lorry, and he did eventually move over. And as he moved over, a huge wooden crate was in the outside lane of the A1, and I couldn't move over because there was a car next to me, and I hit it. And the driver's side front wheel alloy, 18-inch, with a decent sized chunky tire on, I think 265/60. I can't remember. Absolutely, it shattered the wheel. It absolutely exploded, and somehow I managed to get over onto the hard shoulder. Put the spare on. I wasn't too far from the office, so I just carried on. But yeah, steel wheel certainly wouldn't have behaved in the same manner.
No.
I'll show you the video in a bit. Actually, it's quite impressive.
As a lot of Discovery 3s, Discovery 4s now as well. As they're getting older vehicles, we're putting more and more steel wheels on them and replacing the steel wheels. So it's something that we're doing more and more of. A very popular wheel, for example, at the moment for us is the 19-inch modular. Okay.
Oh, I didn't even know that existed.
We've done a 19-inch modular, and the reason that we did it was for the Discovery 4.
Okay.
Mainly, obviously, it'll fit the Discovery 3, but we've done it for the Discovery 4. There's a problem with, I don't know if you're aware of this, and this is probably me going into real sort of geeky territory.
Go on, let's have it.
But there's an issue with it's mainly Discovery 4s, and a lot of people sort of wrongly talk about how this problem, which I'll tell you about, happens. So on the alloys on a Discovery 4, a lot of people, especially if they're towing, okay, it pulls down the back end of the vehicle, and it basically runs on the inner edges of the wheel and tire. So a lot of people go into garages, and every single garage who I speak to makes well, someone say every single garage, but most garages tell people, yes, the problem that you've got, and what's happening is the lip of the wheel is being sheared, okay, to sometimes to a point, okay. Now, what a lot of garages are telling people is that this is due to dirt or grit getting in between the tire bead and the lip of the wheel, and that just rubs the wheel to a point.
Yeah, so the bead is coming away.
Basically this is the wheel. So you imagine the lip of the wheel.
Yeah.
Okay. So you imagine the back end of the vehicle. The vehicle's being pulled down, so it's driving on the inner edges of the wheel and tire.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's happening is, so a lot of people are thinking that this is dirt and grit that's wearing the alloy away, right? But once you remove the tire and you have a look, there's this lovely pattern all the way around the wheel, right? Now, if it was dirt and grit, you'd notice it would be very, that it wouldn't be a pattern. So what's happening is, and this is really geeky now. So there was a guy who was a Polish refugee after World War II. His name was Adolf Shalamak, and he researched the rubber friction, basically. And what's happening is the rubber is burning the aluminium wheel away. Okay, and in some real probably rare cases, but it's shearing it to a point, and it's actually going into the tire.
Wow.
Tire wall. So we've seen it many a times, and many people come to us and go, oh yeah, it's dirt and grit, but it isn't. It's actually the rubber actually rubbing away the aluminium. So
because it's soft,
because it's, well, there is that, yeah, and obviously you won't get that problem with a steel wheel, right? So we're replacing a lot of aluminium wheels, especially that do that, to a steel wheel, because you won't get the same issue. But yeah, Adolf Shalamak, and it's actually called you can actually Google this and have a look if you like. It's actually called a Shalamak wave. And it actually rubs the aluminium away. So, but that's on the Discovery 4. So That's
Yeah, I mean, now you've mentioned it, I can think of, numerous times where you do see a Discovery 4 or, something of that nature towing something heavy and the
Yes.
kind of squats.
a lot of them tone. That's correct, and it pulls the center. It pulls as I say, the back end down, and it's mainly the backs that it happens on. But then you get people then swapping the backs to the fronts, thinking, wonder what happens then. It's the same thing will happen to the other wheels. So, but yeah, that's that's something that we've got in our minds. So that's why we wanted to do a 19-inch steel wheel.
Okay, so you're seeing quite a big uptake, you say, mostly working towing cars. People are switching under, I guess, your recommendations, I guess, from alloy to steel.
Yes, well, it's let's face it, not everybody's cup of tea, is it, fitting a steel wheel? So I get that, but it's just an option there for people if they, for their working vehicles, if they're not too worried about what it looks like they're using the vehicle for, ideally what it's very, very capable of doing, then yes, that option of going for a steel wheel is there. So
brilliant. I was going to say it's funny how people swap from one to the other, because a lot of older Defenders and Discoveries and things like that all would have left the factory on their Land Rover Freestyle or Deep Dish or Boost wheels, and as people ran them for a bit, maybe second or third owner in, got rid of them and went to either a modular or an 8-spoke, something like that. So quite funny really to see that trend has continued, I guess, through the models. But so let's say then, let's play out a scenario where a customer comes to you, say they've got a Discovery 2, and they want to go and do a bit more green laning, maybe a bit of light off-roading. Where would the process begin with you guiding them on a wheel choice?
Okay, so Discovery 2, we all know obviously the wheels that come from manufacture sit inside the wheel arch. Okay, I think the offset is a positive 53 around about there on the standard wheels. Now, what a lot of people want to do is again widen the track, so they get a wider stance on the vehicle to give them more stability. So what we do is we would then recommend changing from the current alloys that you're on, if you're happy doing so, if you want to widen the track of the vehicle, and then we would then put you onto a modular steel. Okay, or an 8-spoke. Okay, so let's not forget the 8-spoke. Sorry. So we would then put you onto either one of those, because what we do is we then put we've got different offsets. Discovery 2 is a great vehicle. Okay, it's a great vehicle off road. It's got very strong axles. It's brilliant. So we're finding we're doing more and more for Discovery 2s now. So offset 25 positive, okay, that basically means that the wheel will sit at the edge of your standard wheel arch. So if you have a standard Discovery 2 and you don't want to do anything with your wheel arches, then you fit an offset 25 wheel, and that's perfect. That just, we do 16/8 in that, and you can run up to, if you want to push the boundaries, you can with that wheel. You can run up to a T4, 5, 7, 5, 16 as your tire size. Okay, so, and that's that's ideal if you don't want to do anything else, you don't want to do anything mechanical, you don't want to fit arches. That's a perfect setup. Okay, and then from there, wheel wise, we've got two other offsets which we do. We do a -20, which will basically work with 50mm extended arches. Okay, but then for the extreme cases, there are people out there who want to fit the really wide arches, which are cool, which I think are about 70mm, and then you would want the -35 offset, which is the ultra, aggressive offset and look that you go for. So, and that's really popular, to be honest with you.
I was going to say, if you go to any sort of pay and play site, especially, or like billing off road show, stuff like that, there's so many Disco 2s with those the 35mm offset. You can literally fit your boot inside the lip of the wheel, can't you? And set up properly, they do look really, really cool.
Yeah, no, they do. I mean, what a popular wheel that we do is the tubed spoke Challenger wheel.
Oh yeah,
we do that. We do that in a negative offset, really popular for Discovery 2. So we only do those in a negative offset because of the curvature of the spoke.
Yeah,
wheel nuts need to sit nearer the back face of the wheel, which is what offset does.
Yes, no, I know exactly the wheels you're on about. Those Challengers do look really smart. There's a Defender actually near me that goes around. He tows a big. I think he does logging or something. He's got like a TD590 on the set of those.
Yes,
and it does look spot on. Yeah, they really smart.
They do give it a good look.
So as well as, of course, looks, why else would someone, you mentioned stability, why else would someone choose to maybe increase the offset to get the wheels a little bit further out?
Just looks, beefs the appearance up. It can improve your steering. Of course, if you're pushing that wheel out, the wheel and tire. So, that's the main reasons why people want to do it. It's a lot of people. It's for looks as well, obviously. So they do look great when they're wider.
Yeah, definitely. I remember actually. You mentioned the steering. Obviously, you go to a slightly taller tire, you're freeing up a bit of space, aren't you, to not hit your radius arms, which is a bit of an issue if you go to a taller tire on a standard alloy.
On a standard alloy, yeah, you're right. Especially like people use spacers as well, of course.
Oh yeah. Do you guys
Spacers are something that have been there for you. I mean, we try and encourage people. There's nothing wrong with fitting spacers. If you prefer your original wheels, then spacers all day. Especially on Discovery 2s. If you prefer to keep your original looking wheels, then fit a set of hub centric spacers. That's fine. But yeah, widening the track is something we recommend doing it with the wheel, but obviously. It looks better with a more dished wheel than it does with a set of spacers on with a more positive offset wheel, if you with me, in my opinion anyway.
Got you.
We're proud to partner with Adrien Flux, an insurance broker that specialises in covering all types of Land Rovers, including classic, ex-military, modified and Q-plated models. Adrien Flux offers a range of optional extras to make the policy your own and can provide cover for off-roading, green laning, agreed value and build-up cover. Plus, they even offer a discount of up to 15% for Owners Club members. Simply search Adrien Flux Land Rover Insurance for more information or call them directly on 0344 728 0417 for a quote.
Okay, so we briefly touched on earlier, you say the modulars sort of making a bit of a comeback. People are really going back to that style, or maybe going a bit old school. What else is on the market right now that's really quite hot?
Okay, we've obviously the Wolf Steel is another one. Okay, very popular wheel. Still to this day remains really popular for us. With the Wolf Steel, we've actually done a zero offset.
I love them. I love them,
and it does look so cool. And I'll be honest with you. To be honest, we're probably being asked for that wheel more than we are the standard 20 offset now. Okay, because it just gives you that little bit of width without looking silly. Allows you to still fit the 235/85/16 tire that we love on it. And it just works, that new version. So I think we've introduced a new satin black color as well. It's anybody can paint the wheels, steel wheels at the end of the day anyway, but they do look great. So Wolf Steel's great. The only thing with the Wolf Steel is obviously you struggle to then fit that to an older model or a series, okay, which a lot of people now are doing things with the older vehicles. The problem that you have is the thickness of the gauge of steel of the Wolf Steel, okay, will only allow you around about 4 turns of a wheel nut on some of the older models with the shorter studs. So there's an easy way to do it. Well, it sounds easy. It's easy to go and buy yourself some new studs, which will probably cost you about £100, but then you've got to change them in your hub, and that's the bit that will probably cost you more. You've got to find somebody who can do it and do it properly. And then you can fit the standard Wolf Steel to the older models. So what we thought is we need a wheel which allows you to go from fitting the original 750/16s to a 235/85/16. Okay, so what we did was we took the original heritage look Land Rover. We just call it the classic tubeless style because it looks like the old tubed wheel.
Yes.
Okay, so what we did was we mirrored the specification of the Wolf Steel, but we had it made in a standard 1200 kg rated version. So the thickness of the steel is not it's not the same as the Wolf steel. So you get more turns on the nuts basically.
Right.
So then that basically then will allow you to fit the 235, 85, 16 to an older series model.
Got you.
And that's taken off really, really well. So we've done that in white and we've done that in black. So those. But what we're finding now is people are going back to this look, if you're with me, to this older sort of steel wheel look, whereas sort of 2 or 3 years ago, and many years previous to that, it was nice alloys. It was going up to 18-inch boost wheels, 18-inch Sawtooth wheels that people replicated for many years, and it's sort of changed and gone full circle. Yes, there's still some of those sort of looking wheels around. There's an 18-inch what we call a VBS Nemesis wheel, which is a lovely 5-spoke wheel, which is popular in 18-inch and in 16-inch as well, which is an aftermarket wheel. And there's still other 18-inch wheels like Khan do a really nice 18-inch alloy, in my opinion. If you want that, well, it's the original Chelsea tractor look, isn't it? So that's a nice looking wheel as well. But it's sort of changed, and it's going. What we're finding is more people want to go back to that original look, and that I'll use that word again, that heritage feel. So,
Yes, that's a really, really simple and clever solution to the old Wolf wheel issue, though, because that was a question we still get a lot. Is I've got a Series 2 or a Series 3. I want to change from tube type wheels, which is standard or whatever. I want to go to Wolf's because the Wolf wheel's 6.5 inches wide, isn't it? As opposed to standard, which is 5.5.
5.5. That's right. Yeah.
So in order to, obviously, you get tons more choice with the 235.
585. Yes.
So that extra inch is what you need to fit the tyre. But obviously the studs are too short.
Yes.
I know on I think it's slightly later Defenders, the military, when it came to fitting Wolves, they basically said just torque them up more.
Yeah.
But early series, the studs are really stubby.
They are. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great idea. And realistically, obviously the Wolves are super heavy. The genuine Wolves are like properly strong. Most people fitting Wolf wheels in the UK aren't going to be taking advantage of the full load capacity of a genuine one, I guess.
Yeah.
I've got a set of genuine ones at home, and they are like so heavy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really clever. So alloys, then you say people are going back to the sort of more classic heritage look, which is absolutely reflected in what we're seeing. People sending in photos of their Land Rovers, which you can do, by the way, editorial at lrm.co.uk. Let us know what you're up to. Yeah, a lot of people are going back to either, like, I'm such a fan of the ET0 Wolf. I think it's such a great blend of, if you look at it from any distance, you go, oh, it's a Wolf. You get closer, it just pumps the tyres out slightly more. I really, really like it.
Gives you a tiny bit of dish to the wheel, of course, which, just gives you that little bit more of an aggressive look than standard. It's just something that's, which just looks cool. We just really think it looks great on the vehicle. So, and as I say, it's probably being asked for more now than the original offset version.
Right, I can totally see why, because it does suit everything really, really nicely. If I ever do give up my beloved 8 spokes, I think I'll probably be stepping in that direction, as long as they clear my disc brakes, which I think they would. But it's interesting. So up till now, then, let's step back in time a little bit. We've talked about what's happening now. People are going towards that more classic heritage steel.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I'd completely forgot they even existed, the 18-inch boost.
Yeah, that's right.
That was quite a throwback.
That was an aftermarket wheel, that was just done, just mirroring the design of the old boost wheel, which I still love the boost wheel today, and it's it's one of my favourite designs. A lot of people would say it's quite boring, but I just think it's a great look. It's the original, the original Defender wheel for me. So the 18 inch is one of the first 18 inches that I sort of ever really saw out there on the market. And then a lot of people followed trend by bringing their own 18-inch wheels out. There's a lot of other companies that have done it. A lot of tuning companies, if you're with me, have brought 18-inch wheels out, and it was the trend for a while, wasn't it? So, but yeah, boost wheel, for me is a fantastic wheel on it. We'll always love the boost wheel.
It's an absolute classic, like you say, across the range, really, because I think they went from the factory Defender, Discovery 1, and I believe late Range Rover Classic might have been optioned with boost as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that timeless 5-spoke with the flat spokes.
Yeah, the original boost with the with the General Grabber TR.
That was the TV5 era Defender.
That was the original setup, wasn't it? Yeah,
General Grabber TR.
So and it's that you can still get that tyre today.
Can you?
Yeah.
I thought they were discontinued.
So no, you can still get that tyre today. So
fantastic. In 2 sizes, or we're being waved at across the room. You can get it in 2 sizes.
Oh, it's 205/16 as well, isn't it? Yeah, that's the other size. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, you never really. I mean, not that I can't say I've looked. But it was a great tyre back in the day. It was obviously OE fitment on.
That's correct.
TD5 Defender, and then I think they went over to Continentals on Puma.
Continentals, that's
the
correct.
latter. Was it Continental?
Continental Cross Contact 8.
Cross Contact, Cross Contact. So 1998 on. Or we're getting really out of the nitty-gritty now.
That's it. Yeah,
yeah. Continental Cross Contact on the alloys, and then Michelin Latitude on the steel.
Yeah, that's
yeah. That's something I've noticed actually. It's funny. You again, we're going back to the heritage side of things. I've noticed the price of Takeoff Defender steel wheels, tubeless wheels, are really on the up now.
Yes, they are. So, a lot of the original wheels are. For many years as well, I'm going back to the boost wheel again, but for many years, people were buying Defenders and they had just wanted the bigger wheel. So you could pick up a set of boost wheels with original 16-inch boost wheels. You could pick up a set of those with the General Grabber tires on, for example, for around about £400 or £500, which is so cheap, it's ridiculous. You couldn't do that now.
No,
not a chance. But it's because there was so many of them about.
Yeah.
There's so many people were buying the vehicles and pimping them out, if I suppose for want of an expression.
Yeah.
And putting 18-inch wheels on and putting more bigger wheels. I think some were even putting 20s on, which I don't think looks good on a Defender personally, but each to their own. But
that's the thing with wheels. It's such a personal thing, and again, it's probably the single biggest modification you can make that changes the overall look and attitude of the vehicle.
Yes.
But
I agree.
Everyone does it for their own reasons, don't they?
Certainly.
For me, I've driven a couple of Defenders on big alloys, like you say, 20s, which are normally fitted with adapters because they don't make that stud pattern.
So yeah, there is. That's it. I mean, the only thing with those, with fitting those adapters they're hub adaptive spacers. So they change. What you tended to find was they would change the PCD, which is the nut spacing.
Yeah.
They would change the PCD from 5x165, obviously what the Defender is, to usually 5x120.
Yes.
But the thing with that is they had to be at least. I think they were always usually around about 63. Mil in diameter, these spacers, so quite long. So that would push the wheel and tyre quite far out. So you'd kind of find that they would usually sit then where a negative offset wheel would slightly sit. So they would always sit just outside, because what happens is you've got to clear the original studs before you can create new studs.
Yeah.
So the spacer had to be that big, if you're with me,
quite
to
thick.
to push, to clear the back end of the previous studs, and then obviously the new studs would then come out outside the hub adaptive spacer. So a lot of people use 20-inch wheels from the Stormer was a really popular wheel. The original Stormer from the 2005 Range Rover Sport is
supercharged, the 20-inch Stormer wheel.
I mean, probably still one of my favourite wheels to this day. I mean, it's that 9-spoke with the groove down the centre of each spoke. It was such a popular wheel for so many years. And then there was a craze for a while where people would take the 20-inch Stormer and put them with hub adaptive spacers and put them on a Defender.
Yes. I remember it well. Okay, we've wandered into OE stuff now. What you mentioned your love of the Boost. Is there anything else that Land Rover have released over the years that you've looked at and gone, that looks fantastic, and also maybe something that you don't like quite as much?
Not really. I mean, I've always the Sawtooth wheel looks fantastic. Everyone mentioned that one. That did look great. Original 16-inch Sawtooth with a set of 235, 85, 16 Goodyear Wrangler MTRs.
Yes,
phenomenal look. I still think to this day he's also a great, one of my favourite wheels as well. So. I'm just a big fan of all the different design. I mean, I'd even jump into the territory of saying, that the new Defender as well for me is, it's a different vehicle, it's a different beast. I love designs that go on those as well. So, but yeah, Sawtooth for me probably was a great look as well.
The Sawtooth was mega popular, wasn't it? When End of Defender was announced and they came out with the Adventure, the Heritage and the Autobiography, Sawtooth went on 2 of those 3 models and everyone went out and bought Sawtooth for their Defender. We saw, obviously we run Auto Jumble Spares Day events. We do 6 a year. Next ones are coming up in October, so get your tickets booked. Sawtooth, as soon as people could get them out of their vans or off their trailers, people would be waiting with money to take them away. They were so...
It was a great look. It looked so... It just give that really aggressive sort of, dare I say, military style look in an alloy. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but yeah, it was, it looked fantastic. So
yeah, definitely. And like you say, a lot of companies came out with an 18-inch version of that as well, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's triggering all these memories now of wheels that have come and gone, and it's really interesting to see how trends have changed. And of course, again at those Auto Jumble events, you see what's popular and what isn't, because stuff will still be sat there at the end of the day that hasn't sold.
Yes.
I think I'm probably fairly unique in my love for the 8-spoke, because you definitely, mind you, they haven't aged well. People bought them maybe 25, 30 years ago. They're very rusty now and they need some love. But yeah,
the 8-spoke's still very popular with us. So
good.
Still continue to do it, and we do it in lots of different offsets as well. A lot of people like to go because it's a little bit different to the modular, isn't it? It's just another option that you can go for. But we do we do quite a few of the negative offset ones in the 8-spoke as well. So we do like a 16x8 with a negative 35, which a lot of people like to fit with 2 857 516s. But they usually got a 2-inch suspension lift to do those, to be honest with you. So
I was going to say, when it comes to modifications, obviously, I guess by the nature of you selling wheel and tyre packages, is it something you have to try and... Are people quite forthcoming?
Yeah, we have to. We're very careful and cautious what we send out, and also our website does sort of give you guidelines for what you need to do. But I'm very overcautious on what we've done there as well. So we'll tell people that to fit a 285 516, which is a 33-inch tyre.
Yeah,
we'll tell people that you ideally you need a 2-inch lift to fit that. We know that you can fit that size tyre on a usually an offset 10 will work on a standard Defender. But I like to be cautious. So, but people will come to us, and you get, it all depends on whether you're willing to do the work to get what you want on there. Okay. Some people want something that's just not going to happen. And then you just have to politely just say, look, you really do need to reconsider what you're thinking here.
Right.
Or, we do then talk to people who are like, I will make it happen. I've got a grinder, I will do the cutting, I will make, so, it's lots of different inquiries, and, we embrace every single one. It's great, every single one's different for us. It's great to talk to people about what they're doing with their pride and joy and their project. And it's like I say, no one person's the same. So, we treat everyone with the most respect and just try and make them happy, really.
Absolutely.
That makes me happy with, with what we do there every day.
I can remember every time, specifically probably my first Discovery that I bought, I ordered, I'd sold a Defender because I was doing more miles, and I bought a Discovery 1 300 TDI. It was actually one that came in to the dealer I worked at on the scrappage scheme, and I bought it off the owners because it was immaculate. And I wanted to put my own little twist on it, so I ordered brand new black Modulars with KM2s, which had just come out at the time in a standard size, 235 70 16.
Yeah.
And I had never been more excited to buy anything from any Land Rover.
Yeah.
And I just remember picking them up, going home, bolting them on, and I was pleased as punch with it.
Did you have the white lettering on the outside?
Of course.
Smashing. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I paired them with, I had a genuine safari snorkel and a light bar with 4 individual lights. And I just left it standard height. I loved that thing. It was absolutely brilliant. I look back at pictures of it now and think, oh, I'd love to find one that was clean as that. Yeah. But it's that excitement, isn't it? And that process, I guess. So go on. Your website's fantastic as well, 4x4tires.co.uk. And you can build your own package on there.
Yes. Yeah. So we tried, on there, it will tell you what we sort of recommend, with regards to, what you're going to fit. It will tell you if you've got a standard vehicle, what will work. It will tell you, if you're looking for a certain size, it will actually say, well, this will work as well. And then it will tell you, don't go for this one if you're not going to do what what we sort of advise in here. So it's pretty cool. It's been quite long in the making, and it still takes a lot of maintenance. If you're with me, we still we update it. I work in it as much as I can if you're with me. So but it's a nice geeky bit of kit that the only thing with that is it takes out the communication with with people. If people are happy, then using that and buying, then great. But if they want to call us, fantastic. It's great to talk to people. So that's something we thrive on.
Absolutely. It must be a really rewarding sector of modification and upgrading to work on, I guess.
It is, and it's great when we see people's trucks afterwards as well with pictures, and occasionally we get the calls from people as well, just saying, look, what you've done for me is fantastic. I couldn't get that help anywhere else. So it is rewarding. So I'll stop blowing my own trumpet.
No, not at all. I was going to say, I often see people tag 4x4 tires on Instagram, and because I obviously follow your page, and I go through, and it's like, the transformation from like standard to, and it just, you can tell they've got
seen it before and after as well, isn't it? That's always a cool photo.
Definitely, yeah. And that pride that they've spent their hard-earned money in the right way, with obviously guidance from yourselves, or they've used the configurator and played around and got exactly what they want. So absolutely brilliant stuff.
If you own a Land Rover, Range Rover or Jaguar and have had trouble with your diesel particulate filter, the DPF, then listen carefully. Lee Day, a major UK law firm, is leading a group claim against Jaguar Land Rover for allegedly faulty DPF systems in diesel models made between 2015 and 2023. They already represent nearly 20,000 Land Rover, Range Rover and Jaguar drivers in a no-win, no-fee compensation claim. To see if your Land Rover qualifies for the claim, visit leedaylaw.info/JLRDPF today.
All right, so we've talked quite a bit about the past and how things have been and trends over the years, and it's been great taking that little walk down memory lane. But what about the current range? Are people as keen to modify them as they have been the older stuff, or and if they are, what are they picking?
Okay, to be honest with you, the newer model is it's a fantastic vehicle to drive. We know that, but what we're finding is people are more sort of sticking with what Land Rover have put on the vehicle. Maybe a change in tyre size slightly. I mean, the the vehicle comes on the 22-inch size. I think it's 275 45 22 is like the biggest wheel size on the Defender. We're finding people are wanting to fit 285 45 22, but there is unlike the previous model, there's very little wiggle room.
Right.
Okay? So for companies like us, and for people like us who like to do things differently, there's very little we can do in sort of in changing the spec that's going on there. Okay, so we're changing the tire sizes. We are doing some wheels. There's some 22-inch wheels out there, which I think there's a DV8 22-inch alloy. We do a lot of Urban's alloy. So Urban Automotive is a company who set up many years ago to customise the old Defender.
Yes.
In fact, he actually took a set of 18-inch boosts for his first Defender from me. We're going back many, many years.
I was going to say.
And they've gone from strength to strength now as a company. So
Huge now.
that's correct. So we do sell their genuine wheels, which they do a WX1 and WX2. Lovely looking wheels and still really popular. Very expensive, but fantastic looking. So, but we've not really touched on steel wheels for the new version yet. Okay. Simply because we would have to change the tooling of how the steel wheel is made. Okay. So the new Defender, whereas the old Defender had at the end of the lip on the hub, the lip would go into the hub where the centre bore of the wheel would sit. And it was a pure right angle, like it is on most vehicles.
Yes.
But what Land Rover have done now on this new Defender, okay, is they put a taper at the bottom edge of the hub lip. Okay, so if you're trying to put a steel wheel on, which is at a right angle at the back edge of the wheel, at the centre bore of the wheel, it won't actually go on now. So obviously where we've had, because the new Defender, the fitment is still the same as Range Rovers, let's say, for example, Discovery 3s and 4s. So it takes the same lug wear and everything. We can't make the steel wheels that fit the, even in 20, we do a 20-inch steel wheel actually for the Discoveries as well. But you would think that those would fit the new Defender. It's big enough to clear the brakes, blah, blah, blah. But it won't actually locate on the hub. So what we do is we'll possibly let the Defender get the new Defender as we know it. We'll let it get older, and then we'll maybe design a steel that can accommodate that hub specification.
It's funny, yeah. You mentioned hubs. It actually reminded me because I've had to have a set of wheels balanced recently. The way that an old style steel wheel fits, i.e., it doesn't rely on that snug fit on the hub, does it? Yeah, it's centered by the nuts.
That's why it makes it lug centric. Yeah. So
yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's
which is acceptable for the steel wheels as long as it's a nutted vehicle. Obviously, to all Land Rovers are, apart from the new Range Rovers, which is another issue. Actually, the last couple of years, the brand new Range Rovers have actually come out on bolts, so they're a bolted application now, whereas everything previous in Land Rover has been on studs.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So I wonder why they've changed.
I'd hazard a guess it's possibly a cost-saving measure, yeah, so obviously there's no studs coming out the hubs now. You literally just have a bolt to bolt the new Range Rover wheels onto new Range Rovers.
Wow. I'll have to have a look at one of them next time I see one. Yeah. Crazy. Oh, yeah. Like you say, I can't think of another reason they would have changed it. But
no, well, it's something that you find is synonymous to BMW and Mercedes. They're all bolts. So I can only think it's cost saving. Somebody might be able to tell me the benefits of using a bolt. So, but it's obviously using a bolt on a vehicle. You wouldn't make a wheel to be lug centric, if you're with me.
Sure,
because it puts all the stress on the bolt. It's just a no go.
Yeah. So the load basically isn't on the hub; it's on the bolts, which would be a terrible idea. Yeah. I can speak from experience, having worked on other brands of cars, that I can imagine fitting those wheels on the latest Range Rover, which are enormous.
Yes.
On a hub with bolts rather than studs is an absolute pain in the backside.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. You wouldn't have fancied out at the roadside, would you? If just driven over a crate, smashed into a correct lane.
Yeah, wobbling around on the little wind-up jack that you get. Yeah, I never wish to change a Range Rover wheel at the side of the road if there's no bolts.
No, it would be fun.
No, indeed not. Well, Chris, thank you ever so much for having me.
No,
thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honour. Thank you.
Well, I think we've had a good old chat, and I'm sure people will love to hear the ins and outs of what it's actually like on the shop floor of a company that sells wheels, arguably one of the biggest aftermarket parts available for Land Rovers. Yeah, absolutely brilliant chat. Thanks again for having me, and no doubt we'll catch up again in the future at some point.
100%. No, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. So if you want to learn more about wheels and tyres, if you want to spec something nice up for your Land Rover, head to 4x4tyres.co.uk. Don't forget to follow Land Rover Monthly on Instagram, Facebook, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we are actually putting stuff on it these days. I'm at Land Rover Martin on Instagram. Steve, who's normally with me on these podcasts, is Steve Miller Automotive. Give us a little follow, see what we're up to. And Land Rover Monthly, new issue on sale now with even more juicy information about wheels. There we go. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next week.